Chilling texts have now been unsealed in the case of the 4 Idaho college students who were stabbed to death in 2022. Haunting messages from the 2 surviving roommates, giving us an unseen look into the timeline of the killings. The pair were trying to reach their friends from inside the apartment they shared, not yet knowing they were brutally murdered. Those texts from Dylan to Bethany reading, "No one is answering. I'm really confused right now." Dylan then texting Kaylee Consalvis, who was killed that night, "Kaylee, what's going on?" Bethany saying, "Yeah, dude, WTF. Xana was wearing all black." Dylan answers, "I'm freaking out right now." Then Dylan pointing out she saw a person wearing what looked like a ski mask. Attorney and legal analyst Misti Marris joining us for a legal perspective. Misti, it's good to see you again. And what do you make of these text messages? How do you think they could play into this case against Bryan Kohberger?
So these text messages are really important, first specifically to setting up that timeline. We're now seeing contemporaneous messages that are being exchanged during the time of the killing. So that's something that prosecutors are going to focus on. They're going to be setting up that timeline, and they're going to use these text messages to do that. The other piece of this is that now we have a text message which corroborates what Dylan, the only person who allegedly saw the masked intruder in the home. We have a text message describing that she saw someone in that house wearing a mask. So that's going to be another piece of the prosecution's case. And on the flip side, Natasha, the defense is going to try and use that. We know from some of the most recent hearings, they're saying that there are going to be credibility issues when it comes to Dylan's testimony, and that she might not have remembered things accurately. And they're going to say, well, she concedes there is a mask. How could she make a positive identification of Bryan Kohberger? So that's how these text messages are going to be used in the courtroom.
That's very interesting. And meanwhile, Kohberger is asking the court to prohibit certain terms like bushy eyebrows. A psychopath and sociopath are on that list, striking it from the record. What's behind this request?
So the first, when it comes to bushy eyebrows, that again speaks to what kind of testimony we're going to hear from the surviving roommates, the only individuals who are going to be able to set the scene from that night. And what the defense is saying is that bushy eyebrows should never come up because of various other pieces of information that have now been made public, such as that Dylan, who is the individual who saw the masked intruder allegedly, could not actually say what this person looked like to a sketch artist, that she is a fan of true crime, that she was in distress that night. And so her account is not going to be credible, and in fact could be prejudicial to Kohberger. And the same with those other terms. What the defense wants to do is try and keep out terms that could tend to inflame a jury or make the jury draw a conclusion from the vernacular rather than the evidence. So the defense is trying to get ahead of that. With respect to some of this, though, specifically that bushy eyebrow term, if that is in fact allowed to be said in the courtroom because it's part of what Dylan allegedly observed that night, it's what we expect her testimony to be, it could be fodder for cross-examination. So a lot of this is gamesmanship before the trial to try and keep out from a defense perspective what the defense believes could be prejudicial to Kohberger. And it's for the court to weigh the value versus the prejudicial impact.
I appreciate that. And Misti, in just about 20 seconds, Kohberger's defense team is claiming he has autism. Does this affect the case for the death penalty in any way?
Yes, it absolutely does. The argument is that he is not eligible for the death penalty because the Supreme Court has found that individuals with disabilities are not eligible for the death penalty. The question is going to be whether autism specifically falls under that umbrella as a diagnosis. And the Supreme Court has not heard any cases specifically relating to autism. So it is a legal question, but it is the defense argument. Death penalty cannot move forward.
That is fascinating, especially with 1 in 30-something American children now carrying the diagnosis. Legal analyst Misti Marris, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.